Oka KTN News, Nairobi.
The government spent over 40 million shillings during last year's National Tree Planting Day in November without adequate documentation or accountability. The revelation by the Auditor General is one among a trove of suspicious activities detailed in a 700-page document. The latest bombshell raises doubt about the executive's transparency in a day marked by opulence and flamboyance. KTN senior reporter Francis Ontomwa delves into that report.
Driving this tiny electric yellow car into KICC, President William Ruto was aiming to send a clear message in last year's Africa Climate Summit that Kenya was a leader in combating climate change. However, a few weeks later, as he led the nation in observing the special public holiday dedicated to tree planting, questions arose. The government deployed its cabinet secretaries utilizing choppers and high-end vehicles to oversee the planting across the country. Now, an excess of 140 million shillings cannot be supported by the government. Was it justified?
It's not worth that much money. In fact, it should be about saving. On those particular days, there are countries that they have systems where people do not have to work or use fuel. They walk, they make sure that they support in terms of reducing the amount of carbon in the air on that particular day or the wastage of energy. But we saw the opposite.
Some members of the civil society had their doubts from the onset of the exercise.
I look at the Auditor General's report. I look for items. Did you see any item where how much was spent on buying tree seedlings? Because if you don't buy tree seedlings, what are you planting?
The report will be discussed in Parliament with investigating agencies expected to take action. However, the government maintains its stance that no funds were misappropriated. This was National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah in an interview last year.
We have trees that we have gotten from the Kenya Forestry Service, trees we have gotten from KEFRI, that is a state agency, and therefore the budget being utilized are budgets that are already appropriated by the National Assembly for use in such work.
For a country grappling with a high cost of living and tough economic times, 140 million Kenyan shillings holds significant value. For example, it could pay the salaries of 5,000 primary school teachers in a month.
What I do hope is that in future, Parliament actually listens to the amount of work, because we see in other countries where Auditor General offices are actually an appendage of the court systems, so they do not have to pass through Parliament. So now it's up to us to see our representatives, whether they're going to just throw it aside and ignore it, like many things that have been highlighted, or is it something that we are going to get upset about, and Kenyans at the end of the day feel that there's nothing that can be done about it.
Francis Ontomwa, KTN News, Nairobi.